seemed to indicate that Sora would finally have the opportunity to get closer to the blind and clarify what they felt in the one for the other. However, from one moment to the next, she disappears without leaving any explanation and with a desperate search begins that will take Sora to a hospital. When she finally manages to find her, Sora believes that everything will return to normal, but she takes the most unexpected blow. They say that those who laugh the most are the ones who carry the biggest wounds inside. He lost everything and decided to lock his heart so that he would never feel it again. I believe that love was something that no longer existed for him until it arrived. She, a girl who doesn't need to look with her eyes to know who she really is, because she sees everything with her heart. And just as their paths crossed, he began to realize that he was wrong, but before they can be happy, they will have to heal what time couldn't cure, face their fears and that past that continues to pursue them. This story will make you smile, yes, but it's also going to break your heart into 1,000 pieces. Stay until the end because you're going to discover that the biggest pain is the one that no one sees. This story with a group of college students gathered in a restaurant, all at all, shouting, laughing, having a great time, except for our protagonist, whose name is Sora. Zora didn't want to be there. He had an ugly dream and now he's more down than ever. Sora has already decided to have a hard time and begins to criticize everything she sees. Sora even feels sorry for others and her friend tells her, "If you take everything to heart, you better change places and meet someone else." Suddenly, a guy gets up, says that he has a very important ad and asks a certain Yuko to also stand up. He grabbed her just as she was eating. Poor, she was telling her that she loves her. He wants to be his girlfriend, pushing her in front of everyone, wanting to force her with the people. That's the lowest thing there is. Yuko doesn't let go. He tells her it's better not to, and there he was, humiliated, and then he spends his time saying that she's an interested person, that he only cares about the material. Everyone laughs at failure, less. Sora, his compa tells him, "Don't be like that, don't be so bitter." But Sora replies that she doesn't swallow people who need to call the attention of forces, that they look so desperate, doing the impossible to get others to love them. Your compa tells him, or maybe they're just trying to find out who they really are. That's what the university is for, isn't it? To learn, to live together and stop being so bitter, and also for contacts. That the contacts are worth gold. She was referring to Yuko and her friend, who are alone on a corner. And to now they seem as if they were in another world, and that catches her attention, because she feels that they are far away from everyone, as if no one could catch up with them. In the end she agrees to go, but with the face of few friends so that they can see that she does not bring any interest. They introduce themselves. He is Sora, his friend's name is Aram. Yuko introduces himself and also his friend Queru. As soon as he sees her, Sora thinks, "Don't stain, she even looked like such a character that I know." She got out of hand with the design, but she notices that the girl doesn't take her eyes off her. It even occurs to tell her something to see if she still sees him, but at that point the girl looks for her glass everywhere and can't find it. Yuko has to tell him where he is because the poor thing doesn't see him. They finish eating him. Everyone starts to see what they're going to do next. Yuko approaches Sora and tells her that everyone left her aside as soon as they realize that she doesn't see. Sora replies that that's why they looked like they were alone in the middle of nothing. The others ask her what she said, and he answers that they looked like a deserted island. They're on their way home. Speaking of the new subjects, Sora goes all the way back, thinking that if he couldn't see, she wouldn't walk as calm and happy as her. And all of a sudden, a guy lets go of a big silly thing. He asks Quera why he went to the party, if anyway, no. Luckily Quera doesn't get angry or anything and tells them that because he wanted to go to a party like anyone else, at least once in his life. Sora is surprised. It's the first party Yuko realizes that Sora is set aside and asks her if she doesn't like him or why she goes so far. She comes a little closer and asks if she's not afraid to leave Quero alone. Yuko tells her that she is not as helpless as everyone thinks, that she just has to follow the lines on the ground for those who don't see, and so she stayed alone. Sora asks them if they have been friends for a long time because they get along very well. Yuko says no. They barely met when they entered the university and then joined the group of companions, students who offer to help those who have a difficulty. Sora says yes, but he already regretted it because that subject is very complicated and he is a lazy person who would like everything to be resolved on its own, and asks him if he encourages to help him. Sora is still not convinced, but Yuko takes the yes, anyway, to agree later. He already wants to back down. He feels like he's good for a damn. Since his parents separated, he feels like a victim. He locked himself in his shell because he no longer has his old man at home. They arrive at the building and leave Quero at the entrance, where she already knows how to guide herself, but in that they hear rockets start thundering and they get to see each other from there. Naram and Yuko run out to see them, but Quero also wants to go. She hurries so much that she stumbles, but luckily Sora grabs her before she falls. "Oh, what a scare I felt," she says. The three of them leave together, but when they arrive, the fires are over. "What bad luck. I didn't reach it anymore," she says. Sora can't take the doubt and asks her, "So if you can see," she replies no, but she loves fires. Sora doesn't get into her head. How can you like something you don't see? Quera tells her that she dreams that at the end of all this she can throw a few together with her friends, maybe with someone he likes. Sora doesn't know if he's saying it seriously or if he's making fun of it. How are you going to throw rockets if you can't see them? On Monday, Sora goes to his computer class and when he enters, he sees Aquera sitting alone in a corner. He sits at the table next to him and after a while he gets a message from Yuko, "Hey, take a look at Queru, please. It even seems like he's watching me all the time, you think." Now she sees that she is reading a book in Braille and suddenly the separator drops. She gets up to give it to her and say hello to her, but she doesn't respond because, obviously, she doesn't know that they are talking to her. It occurs to him to yell at him, but that's useless, and when he calls her in her name, she does answer him. She has a very fine ear and recognizes that her voice sounds like the note Fa tells her that she plays the piano since she was a child and that helped her develop that special ear. Sora shows him the separator that he dropped. "Yes, already. I know that sometimes she doesn't grasp how things work." She puts it in her hand so that she knows what it is. When she finishes class, she puts her cane away and prepares to leave. She feels even pity for her. Although he thinks he is the only one who suffers, he gets up to leave, but he hears that something has fallen. He turns around praying so that it is not what he thinks, and yes, he dropped his cane and is looking for him on the ground, just like when one drops his glasses and he is all desperate. Again now he wants to pretend not to know, but in the end he comes back to help her. Quaro thanks him and tells him that he is going to put a bell on the cane so that it doesn't happen to him anymore. He tells him that it doesn't make sense if he, and well, in that he is right, although he suddenly feels like an expert in the field. They go to the elevator and she asks him if he has more classes or something to do. He says no and she invites him to spend some time together. Yako sent him a message saying that he was going to be late. "Let's see, don't tell me how he sent you a message." She tells him that later. She explains how all that works. They go to the soft drink machine. Sora asks him what he wants to drink. "I can do it on my own." She tells him and orders a tea. He doesn't understand how she did it and she explains to him that this is her machine, she knows it by heart. Zora is left with her mouth open and asks her if her family owns a vending machine factory or what. "No, dude," she replies. "I'm coming so much that I've already learned all the buttons. If I grab one that I don't know, I want a coffee and I get lentil soup." Sora tells her that must be very ugly and then apologizes for saying it like that. But she says yes, that sometimes it's very difficult. Yako has already taught her where everything is and she has already learned what she uses. That's why she can do it alone after. And she explains how she uses her cell phone. She brings a program that reads everything that appears on the screen and with practice she handles it almost normally. Sometimes it's hard for her to write, but it's already getting done. Sora doesn't know how to treat her yet. She sees her so happy despite everything, and the one who spends her time crying because her parents, they don't live together anymore. He feels really silly and starts to think that it's time to stop closing the world so much. She asks him for her number and he sees that his profile picture is a flower he has never seen.
New code.
Once again, the cane falls out. She catches up with him and she thanks him for helping her twice in a row. He invites him to go for something to drink and they return to the same table the other time. After a while Yako arrives and he is surprised that Quero already knows that it is her just by greeting her. I wanted to ask him if he already has super ears like the ones in the movies or something like that, but he's embarrassed to look like a man. He just asks him if he really recognized her with just a hello. Cora tells him that it's because his voice is very particular. Yuko tells him that he left early because the teacher didn't arrive and asks them what they were talking about. When Quera tells him that he recognizes his voice very easily, Yuko lets go. That is, he already has his ears like those animals that find everything without seeing, like bats or whales. Sora can't believe it. She did dare to ask what he didn't want to say. Uru only says it's because of the piano. They're going to give a concert and they need to test if the piano in the living room sounds good. Zora takes the opportunity to go slowly, but Yuko stops him. "Hey, can you join us? The living room is in your residence and only those who live there can enter." He accepts, but with a face of few friends that no one can stand. Sora asks him if he can really play without seeing. Like Ray Charles says he's glad he was able to see before because Sora doesn't know what to say to her. She stays quiet because anything she says is going to sound bad. Quera tells him that he's going to start playing and that it makes him nervous that he's listening. When he finishes, he asks him what he thought. Sora wants to be the one who knows and says that, "Father, that's bass." She laughs out loud and tells her that my nearby is bass. She tells her that she played when she was in 5th year of elementary school, but that now she likes to play it slower, to make it sound sadder and prettier. Sora tells her that it's incredible that such a young girl could play something like that. She offers her to keep playing for a little while longer and he accepts. When she doesn't have any more songs, they leave the room. Quera says that the piano is fine, you just have to tune a few keys. He thanks her for accompanying her and for helping her with the cane. He confesses that he thought he would never talk to her again and that he was very pleased that he did. Sora tells him that anyone would have done it, but she replies that it is not and that she wanted to invite him again for a drink, but she was embarrassed to ask him in the middle of the class. He tells him he already has his number, why didn't he write to him? She asks if he would have bothered her and he says not at all, although the truth is that he would have given her anything, but he didn't tell her. Sora thinks that if it is the first thing, she surely ends up falling in love with her compaderum. When he leaves, he gets a message from Quero. He tells him that they finally opened the Mejimera ship and asks him if he wants to go with her. Sora is already regretting giving her number. It turns out that at the university they have a real boat. It is for those who study navigation, to do an internship. When she arrives there, she is waiting for him. Sora feels that her heart is going to come out of her chest and she says to herself that it is nothing more, because what the teacher said was left going around. She asks him why he came up with the idea of going suddenly. She tells him that it was always closed with a lock, but that today they finally let him see and he didn't want to miss the opportunity, maybe they never open it again. They get to the deck. She tells her she wants to go all the way to the back and asks her if she can. He says yes, but be very careful if they fall or it's hard floor down. She feels the wind in her face and says she feels like they're in the middle of the sea. She asks Sora how everything looks from there. He describes everything, the school buildings, the grass where everyone sits down to talk and relax. Sora asks him what he does. I'm doing the I'm the king of the world, he tells her. Like in Titanic, he remembers. They spend all their time on TV when it's December. Quero asks him if he wants to do the scene of I'm flying with her. He says you can't do it at the tip anymore because several have already fallen, but here on the deck nothing happens. Sora tries to make a joke, and if you're Jack and I brush, she apologizes, but she says that if they had gone a little slower, the scene would have gone well. Sora feels again that her heart is going to come out and it repeats itself. It's just the scare that he dreams that he's Jack and his friend Aram is Rosa. Sora runs to help her. She doesn't recognize him until he tells her who he is. She asks her what she's doing there and he tells her that just like her, just walking. She asks her if it's not hard for her to walk in the rain. She says yes, but she wants to be able to do everything anyone else does. He offers to accompany her and hold the umbrella. He proposes to go to shelter in a place, but she stops him. He wants to ask her for something important. He tells her that they have already known each other for a month and should start calling each other by their name, without so many surnames or formalities. Sora says that it is a very big change and that she does not know if she can, and that she realizes that she is no longer covering the rain and gets back next to her. She touches her arm and sees that everything is already wet, so he gets closer so that the two of them fit under the umbrella. He tells her that if it costs him a lot, at least he should call her by his name and she will call him by his. He accepts. She takes a sip and as it doesn't taste good, Sora asks her what's going on, and she tells her that she hates soft drinks, because the gas itches her throat. She tells her that she's not going to drink it and gives it to Sora the brand where she drank and it occurs to her to drink it right there. In the end, she won't notice, but then she thinks and says, no, I'm still ashamed and he takes it without giving importance to the place. At that time, Yoko and Naram arrived. They ran into each other by chance and decided to turn around. They ask them if they want to go eat something, but Quero has another idea, to go to karaoke, because he has never been and is dying of desire. He says he brings a lot of things stored and needs to take them out. Everyone says yes. Last time he is not very convinced, but he never is. And to everyone's surprise, Yuko sings super well. Sora gets nervous. The insurance is not going to sing even half as good. In addition, Quero is sitting close and feels like butterflies in her belly. Then it's Naram and the way also has an angel voice. Quero asks Sora what he's going to sing, but he tells her that it's better to come in first. While she gets on the cheer, she accepts and asks her how she chooses the song. Sora already wanted to be the interesting one thinking she was going to do some trick, but no, Yuko asks her which one she wants and they put it on. I thought that being blind was like having powers or something. Quero tells Yuko in his ear, what is his song? And it turns out that she's the one who always has it in her head. She talks about fireworks. I see that this girl lives in love with rockets, you think. Now the song starts and she sings better than the other two together. Everyone realizes that Nosi doesn't take anything away from his voice or what he feels. Now it's Sora's turn and he feels even sweating cold. He knows that he's not going to sing even close to good. He even thinks of inviting the janitor to see if he sings better, but of course, the man won't be able to answer. He chooses a song quickly and gets one of those super curses, while he sings. Uru approaches and whispers in his ear that he loves that song, and in the end the camera stays fixed on a picture of some phosphorescent. I'm sorry. A few days later, they are on the terrace. Quaron reads his book and suddenly stops. Are you still there, Sora? He tells her yes, he hasn't moved. She tells him that if he doesn't talk to him, he feels that. She leaves and leaves her alone. It's in Frank's diary. Sora gets excited and she asks her if she has already read it. He says she doesn't ask her if she likes it and she says yes. She admires how she put up with it and never threw in the towel. In spite of everything, well, until. Only what happened, he says, sorry for the gossip. Sora asks him if it's hard to read like that and she tells him at first yes, but you get used to it. She also listens to audiobooks, but passing her fingers through the dots feels good. She asks him if he wants to try and passes him the book. Sora goes through the pages and touches something different. And what is this? A separator I made myself, she says. She has something written, and what does it say? He asks. Well, read it. Quero asks him if he likes fireworks, and he tells him that he has already asked him like 1,000 times. He tells him that they moved a lot as a boy and they arrived in Shimonoseki. It's like the Tultepec over there, full of rockets and explosions. Every year they hold a festival where they throw fires on both sides of a bridge. She went with her parents, but there was always a crowd of people. She asks her if in the end she liked it or not, and what happened to what she told her. He says that there were only a lot of people and that it is the second largest firework event in Japan. Well, it sounds cool, she says. I'd love to go sometime, but it's very full, he says. All the people squeezed, smelling of street food, but everyone would be looking at the sky at the same time, feeling the same, she says. That makes him unique. Sora is silent and thinks, what's up with this girl and the way she sees everything? She asks if she makes the separators and she says yes. It's easy if you have the right printer. Sora passes her finger over the dots and doesn't feel anything special. He's surprised that someone can read like this. Anything could happen tomorrow, so you better think about it. That's when a plane passes and the wind takes the separator to the roof of the building. Sora runs after him. He doesn't make it. He comes back and tells Quero, the wind took him away. Don't worry, she says, I remember what he said and I do another. Then he tells her that at school there is a club that is dedicated to investigating fireworks. What needs to be investigated, he thinks. They catch on and that's it. There's also a lake with boats and there's that group. Zora feels guilty for losing the separator and decides to accompany her to see what that is. She tells her that she was already feeling bad always, asking Yuko to take her everywhere, and today Yuko had to work in a cafeteria. Yes, it was his turn. His name is Juaki and he's in charge of the club. Sora says that they only came to see him, but he realizes that Quaron doesn't see. She tells him that by listening and imagining it is enough. She asks him if they throw the fires there, because a few days ago they saw some and it looked like they were coming out of there. She'd like to try throwing one. Yuichi tells her that she'd better see them from afar like everyone else, but she says that she wants to be close, feel the heat and the smoke. He tells her that it's dangerous and shows her arms full of burns. Koran doesn't know what he's teaching and asks him what's going on. Now she explains that she has marks everywhere and it was so hard for you to tell me, she says. It bothers me when people hide things from me or don't explain to me. Suddenly, they come up with the idea, they themselves are going to get and throw some fireworks. You're crazy, he says. It's dangerous. I know where they're selling, she says, and you owe me the separator, which even appeared in the presentation of the anime. In the end, he agrees, if not, the story is ruined. That night she called him on the phone. Sora thought she was going to regret it, but no, she just wants to agree on the time and the place. She feels nervous and tells him that talking on the phone is something else and she feels sorry for him. He also starts to give him something. He tells her that he better pick her up at his house. But she tells him that it doesn't look like an appointment, so it's a date, he asks. Of course, she says. Sora thinks, I already screwed up, I have an appointment and I didn't do anything. She takes a bath and fixes up. Narum notices, hey, today you dressed up, she says. I can see that this goes beyond any outing. Sora says it's nothing, but Naruma tells him not to play dumb, asks him if he doesn't like Quero and he says no, that he likes to be with her, but that he doesn't know how to handle it, that he doesn't see. You're the one who doesn't know how to treat her normally, Naruma says. Don't be so selfish. He just treats people like anyone else, he just understands what he's saying and goes to see her. They meet on the bridge. He asks her if she's been waiting for a long time and she says about 2 hours. He didn't calculate the time well, he thinks. He points the meter with his finger and then realizes the nonsense he did. But she doesn't get offended or angry, she just tells him that she feels very good and even jumps. How did you do that? He asks. I'm blind, not silly, she says. You try to jump with your eyes closed. They get on the subway and Zora realizes that no one gives him the seat. What shameless people, thinks. Kiwara thanks him for being on the lookout and tells him that he is very attentive. His heart races again. He asks him why he likes fires so much if he doesn't see them. I like to hear the rumble, feel the smell of gunpowder and know that everyone is excited, he says. Try to close your eyes next time. Maybe a little one, he says. I also like little ones, she says. I wanted to try now that I don't see anymore, not because of the memories, but because of me. That's when the car fills up and Sora sticks more to her to take care of her. She feels it and thanks him. When a guy, distracted with his cell phone, crashes into her and even looks at her badly, Sora was already going to get angry, but she stops him. It was unintentionally. He was watching videos or something. They go to a coffee shop and meet Yuko, who works. She sees them and realizes that they are dating. Sora tells her that she better attends to people, if not, she doesn't leave her a tip. They ask her what they are going to do and Quera tells them about the fires, inviting her to go. Yuko says yes, then Yuko tells them that now Sora is different, that she even smiles. Uru asks him to let him touch his face to see what it's like, but he gets nervous and tells him to ask for what they're going to drink. She asks him to read the menu. Hey, what bad luck, he thinks. It's just my turn. Yuko suggests milk tea and she accepts. While they have a drink, she asks her if she wants to put butter on the bread and he says no, that she likes men. She laughs and tells her that she doesn't like to be watched eat, but that she feels good with him. As if she were one more, Sora is encouraged and asks her something that always made her curious. What you see, all black or blurred? She says no, in her case everything looks as white and transparent, as if it were clouded all the time. Hey, I didn't know that, he says. They go to the fireworks store. It looks like a still life full of boxes of all sizes. Sora explains that there is and she tells her to take the best. They buy everything, thunder, lights, flares, even. Sora offers to keep them in her room. It's not a good idea for her to go around with explosive things. They remain to ask Yuko what permissions they need, because it's not like here that you go to the park and that's it. When you go out, you ask her if they leave now and she tells her that if she doesn't want to continue, nothing happens. It's not that, she says. Of course it's a quote, she says, and these things weigh a lot, and if the police grab us, they're going to take us to prison. Well, I'll betray you as the head of the group, he says. She laughs and he thinks he has a very nice laugh. She proposes to go on the sea bus. Do you imagine that it will be? And it turns out that it is a ship that acts as a transport. They go to the stop and he describes it to him. The box office. The ship docked is cool, he says. In my land there is nothing like that. She asks him if they want to go up or down. Better, upstairs, you can see everything. Go up the stairs and because they are narrow and slippery, he says, give me your hand, I'll take you. She tells him, you have a hand full of hard worker. Well, hold on tight so you don't fall, he tells him.
I'm sorry.
Kojiro arrives in her room and turns on the light. The truth is not that she needs it, but it's the custom, and it also gives her the feeling that she's already at home. Since she doesn't pay the bill, there's no problem. She changes for her pajamas and her mom calls her for dinner. At the table, you can tell that she sees the world in her own way, as if everything had a special shine. She doesn't like to eat accompanied because if she gets stained she doesn't realize it and they end up cleaning her. That's why she takes care of herself when she's with Sora. Her mom notices her happy face and tells her that she looks like she did very well. Kojiro tells her that yes, she tried too hard and even tried on several dresses to choose the best, and it's true. She got up very early, took a shower, dressed up and chose very carefully what to wear. She wanted to look beautiful to him, she wanted him to be speechless. He tells her that he had a lot of fun. His mom smiles and tells him that you can see it on his face. The date was short, but it filled his heart. Kojiro thinks about how weird he is. Most people treat her as if she were made of porcelain, as if she couldn't do anything on her own. They don't even invite her to things because they think it's going to get complicated. But Sora is different. He listens, asks her how she sees the world. She really wants to understand it, and what she likes the most is that she is surprised by what she says. As if it really seems incredible to him, he doesn't pity her. He treats her like an equal. When he knew he would lose his sight, he thought he was running out of everything. But over time he learned to do everything on his own. Put on makeup, dress, bathe, use your cell phone, even reading. The only thing that is difficult for him is to walk down the street, but with comfortable shoes he manages them. And what he can't do alone, he asks for. It's that simple. He starts to remember the walk through the river. Zora was describing everything he saw. The water, the trees, the heaven, and she imagined it as clear as if she were looking at it with her own eyes, until he screams at her to bend down because a very low bridge is coming. She bends down scared and nothing happens. The bridge wasn't as low as he thought. The two of them stood still and then burst into laughter. What I want to have seen his face at that moment, she thinks, but what he imagines he likes it very much, but he is terrified to confess it to him. He's afraid that he'll tell her he doesn't want to be with someone he can't see, that he rejects her for that, and while she is thinking, the boat moves and she ends up stuck to him. She feels how strong it is and is speechless. She wonders if, and he would feel the same way if she could see. And then he realizes something. He gave him his number, but he has never written anything, not even a little message. Anyone would say he is not interested, but she is so excited that she doesn't care. He sleeps happily, dreaming about him. The next morning he has to get up early. There is an ancient tradition in the residence. Everyone has to get on a boat and paddle until the sun rises. After paddling all morning, they have visitors in the boat for the festival. Sora and Narumi are rowing, but Sora doesn't give one. He goes sideways, falls behind, and Narumi scolds him because he goes too fast. Soon a wave splashes on him. Sora worries and asks Kojiro if he's okay. She tells him yes, that she loves to feel the air and the smell of the sea. She encourages him to keep going. After a while a girl feels bad and Sora is the only one who realizes it. She tells them to stop so they can rest. Kojiro thinks he is a very good and attentive man. He tells her that at the end of the festival they are going to throw fireworks. Then Narumi goes to work and Sora stays with her. They agree to meet later on the terrace. In the afternoon they see each other. Sora arrives very tired, with sore arms and hands full of calluses. but happy to see her, they sit together and listen to what they say on the loudspeaker. Now he tells her that he had thought about her all day. They talk about the competition of traditional dresses and fireworks. Kojiro tells him that he would have loved to participate, that his mom had one beautiful, that he always wanted to wear. Sora tells her that she would surely have one. She asks her if she really voted for her. He keeps quiet for a moment and says yes, without hesitation. Kojiro turns red and tells her that it's almost like confessing. Sora gets nervous and clarifies that she meant that she would look beautiful. She laughs, she likes to see him so embarrassed. He tells her that it must be love. For the fireworks, suddenly it starts to rain, and what rain? The fireworks cancel. They get a little wet and Kojiro starts sneezing. Sora realizes that she is going to get sick. How can she not let her go like this? Sora knows that she won't be able to take her home with this rain, so she lends her jacket and proposes to take refuge in her room. He says that in order not to slip, Sano knew that the right thing or the most appropriate thing would be to accompany him to take his house. But between that and taking him to his room to live together a little more. And he gave the second thing. They get to the room and sit her next to her bed. Then he passes him a towel to dry. Kojiro tells him that he is embarrassed to ask him this, but he has to do it. She asks if her blouse is becoming transparent with the wet. Sora gets nervous, as if she wasn't just looking at her neck and back. The blouse does get a little transparent, but she's very embarrassed to say it, so she just says no and puts the towel on her shoulders. He says that in order for it to dry, he then sits on the floor as he thinks it's the first time he's alone with a woman who isn't his mom. He's so nervous. Kojiro tries to talk to him by asking for his room. That it's good that he's blind and doesn't realize that it's 1/4 2x2 roof and that on top of that he has to share it with Arumi. She gets excited about being in her bed and dives into her. Zara almost directed her gaze under her skirt. He could have taken advantage of it and tried to see beyond, but he behaved like a decent gentleman and tells him that he almost sees him. Kojiro quickly covers himself and asks him if he managed to see the intimate part. Sora tells her that she didn't tell him before, but she doesn't believe him. She thinks he's a pervert and then tells him that it's a shame. But she tells her that she doesn't talk about it, that she's talking about the fireworks that they couldn't see. Sora thought it was being proposed to her. Too bad, she says yes, but that they will do it next year because it's a school tradition. Kojiro tells her that she would like to join the club, but she doesn't know if they will let her join. Sora proposes to join her and in that the rain goes down, so it's time to take her home. On the way, Sora got very nervous because she was very close to her. So she tried to distract herself by reciting Our Father about 4 times, but since she didn't make her first communion, the guy doesn't know it. So it's better to ask her what they're going to do with the rockets they bought. She proposes to launch them in the summer. Sora asks her if she has no trouble going out at night and she says no to see, because it's not that she sees less at night. Sora asks her if they're going to invite Narumi and Hayas, so that the fart doesn't look too empty. After all, she spends her time doing a rest of the things with her, such as walking together in the rain, holding her arms. If she had a girlfriend, she wouldn't take it very well. Sora tells her that she thought she might ask him because he liked it. Kojiro complains as if he makes a scene. He's not rolling with happiness in his bed and Sora tells him that it was a joke and tells him that he can't stand anything. Kojiro tells him that he's a tremendous joker and squeezes his arm to make him feel. He continues on his way to the house and when he arrives at the entrance, Koharu tells him that there is a way for a blind man to know what a person looks like and that is by touching his face. Sora asks him if he wants to know what he looks like and Koharu says yes. Sora accepts, which is very dangerous because there you can see how ugly it is. Kojiro touches his face and asks him to bend down a little bit. Sora does it and when he is within reach, Kojiro asks for a tremendous kiss. The girl doesn't go around like the rest of the protagonists of romantic stories. She knows what she wants and throws herself with everything. They separate and finish off saying let's see if you can stand this joke. Then he says goodnight and leaves. He was so shocked that to process him I wanted to talk to Arumi, so the next night he took him out to eat. And before continuing with the video, I wanted to remind you to give him a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not. Hit the bell and leave a nice comment so that the algorithm can see that we are good people and recommend us to more people. That's when Yace arrives. Narumi invited her and didn't tell Sora. The guy wanting to tell him about his first kiss and this guy inviting the other's friend kicks him under the table to show him that he is dissatisfied with the situation. But Narumi doesn't care what this guy likes or not. The 3 of them sit down to eat and there he is asked where he is from. He tells them and then they talk about that where he lives. They make I don't know what green food, which seems strange to the other 2. But well, Sora doesn't know how to tell them about the kiss with the girl present, so she better start eating as if the food was going to escape her. Her friends tell her to go down a little, she's going to get stuck. But Sora is worth it and keeps eating. In the end, everything is clean. Narumi asks her to tell him what she wanted to tell, although she is sure it is Kojiru. Sora tells her that she tells him and asks for a tea to lower the food. She tells her that Narumi invited her because she told her that she was going to listen to a tremendous gossip, but that they only came for that. The waitress brings her tea and he tastes it and tastes something strange. It turns out that she made a mistake and brought her one with alcohol and only a sip. Sora is already completely drunk. Sora is finally encouraged to tell her classmates that she kissed Kojiro. When she finishes telling them what happened, Narumi is very jealous because this guy has a more loving life than him and is already upset because he lacked the courage to take the first step. Narumi tells her not to say things like that anymore. She is already asked if she really didn't do anything with her when she took her to her room. Sora swears no, and she asks why not. It was the perfect time for her to throw herself with everything. Sora tells her that she didn't dare because she doesn't see. She is already asked if she is afraid of people with visual disabilities. Narumi shuts her up and attracts the attention of everyone in the restaurant. Sora proceeds to explain. Sora tells her that she doesn't dare to move forward because she thinks she would be scared because she wouldn't see that she's going to touch her and scare her. Sora gets angry that they're laughing. But she can't wait to say those things and that no one laughs. She calms down and asks her what she likes about Kojiru. He replies that his smile because he's always smiling and that if he went blind he couldn't be that happy. He tells them that when his parents divorced, he thought he was the most unfortunate person in the world, but then he met Kojiru and saw that she had much more difficult things. He realized that she had everything he was missing. He taught her that happiness does not depend on what you see, but on how you see things, and it was then that he realized that he liked it and that what mattered was what was inside. He already understands it, because Kojiru does everything they do and even more. She never makes excuses and never uses her condition as an excuse. And that's a very valuable thing. So she understands when she says that she is sincere, direct and cheerful, while he is insecure and shy. She already asks her when she plans to declare herself. Sora tells her that she can't and the others don't understand why not. The most difficult thing is over, now all that remains is to say. They ask you if you really like it. Because if you really liked it, you wouldn't have any doubts. Sora tells them that if she likes it, then they ask her if she doesn't want to do it because it bothers her that she doesn't see. Sora tells them that it doesn't bother her and they convince her until she agrees to do it at the end of the season. They tell him to practice right now and they're going to record him so he can see how it sounds. Sora, feeling courageous, gets up and says out loud so that the whole restaurant can hear him. What does he want to say to Kojiru? That he is in love with her. The whole restaurant applauds him. Some congratulate him. Sora returns to her seat thinking that she did it well, but the video is already sent to Kojiru, and she has already seen it. So there is no way to hide it anymore. What a quick way to move the story forward. Sora thinks that everything went wrong. Her friends tell her not to worry, but I can tell you that everything went wrong. Kojiru responds in the next few days and doesn't even go to class. Sora is completely dejected and more alone than ever. The first thing she does is return to the bridge, hoping that she may appear again in the same place, but there is no trace of it. Then she goes back to school and spends a whole week looking for her everywhere. You can't find it in the classrooms, nor in the library or in the places where the students usually hang out. He even checks the cafeteria and even the boat they have next to the yard, but nothing after classes. He usually stays on the terrace, where they used to sit down to talk, waiting for Kojo to appear, and everything goes back to the way it was before. But his calls don't get a response and his messages don't either. They don't even appear as seen. In a nutshell, Kojo blocked it. And of course, that ends up destroying it inside. He needs to see it, even if it's just for a moment, to check that it's okay. In addition, all of this hits him even harder because he feels that he did with him something similar to what his own father did in the past. He left and never returned. Meanwhile, Ayaz appears with huge dark circles and with an expression even more depressed than the hell. And that attracts a lot of attention because she is normally a cheerful person. She was going in full of energy there. She feels responsible because she was the one who sent the video of Sora confessing her feelings. She believes that perhaps Sora is already used to being abandoned and that's why she doesn't show what she feels so much. But Sora tries to put the topic aside and asks her to pass on the exam questions. At that moment, Arumi appears running and tells them that she finally found a clue. She had seen a lame walking down the street and entering a hospital that was several kilometers from there. Sora decides to go immediately to look for her and finds also signs up. They even ask Narumi if she wants to accompany them, but he explains to them that she has been running from afar and that she can't take it anymore. Sora searches the internet for the location of the hospital so she doesn't get lost and they start running. They run as long as at a certain moment they end up falling head on. It turns out that running with flip-flops is not exactly the best strategy. Luckily, he only hurts his foot. Still, he tells Sora to continue and that as soon as he recovers he will reach it. So Sora keeps going and keeps running. He finally arrives at the hospital and heads to reception to ask if there is a patient named Kojo. The nurse explains that she cannot provide information about her patients. Sora tries to convince her by telling her that she has not been able to communicate with her for a long time and that she is worried about her condition. But the answer remains negative. Then another employee appears to check what is happening and Sora decides to leave and look for a place to wait. Her plan isn't exactly brilliant. As Narumi saw her walk into the hospital, Zora assumes that she probably wasn't as a patient, but to visit someone. So she decides to wait until at some point they call her or show up at the reception. While waiting, she receives a message from Yas telling her that she has already arrived and asking her where she is. When they meet, Sora asks him how he managed to get there so quickly. Apparently, Ayaz remembered that there are application transport services and simply asked for an Uber. Ayaz asks if he managed to find Kojo. Sora explains that he tried to ask questions at reception, but did not get any information. So, both decide to take advantage of the fact that the hospital apparently does not have too much security and begin to walk through the building on their own. They stop to cover more land. Zora checks the map and thinks that one of the most likely places where she could find it is next to the ophthalmologist. She goes up to the third floor and starts searching attentively, even hoping to find someone walking with a cane. But no one appears. Goes up another floor and then another, and nothing. At least, during the search he discovers a small fairly pleasant garden. Then he continues to check the other building. As soon as he enters, he hears the sound of a piano. He immediately remembers that Kojo knew how to play that instrument, so he decides to follow the melody. The music takes him to the pediatric area, and there he finally finds it. Kojo is playing the piano for several children while his mothers talk outside. Seeing her healthy and safe, she is so excited that even some tears escape her. He immediately sends a message to Jace to tell her that he finally found her. He explains that he is playing the piano for the children who are in the hospital. She arrives there shortly after, but since they don't want to interrupt her while she's playing, they both sit on a bench and wait for her to finish. The song seems to last for an eternity. When Ku finally leaves the room, the two get ready to approach her. However, Sora doesn't know exactly what to say to her. Ojo begins to walk without stopping. Sora calls her by her name. She hopes that she recognizes it by the voice, just as it had happened on previous occasions, but this time something completely different happens. Kojo doesn't react. Zora then explains to him who he is and tells him that he has been looking for her everywhere, trying to break the tension. He even uses one of his usual jokes and asks him in a playful tone if he can talk to her for a moment. He waits for Kojo to follow the game, as he normally did, but this time he doesn't seem to feel like joking. He finally agrees to talk to him. The two go out to the small garden that Sora had found during his search. There they try to help Lane to climb some stairs, but she rejects the help. That detail makes Sora understand that something is definitely not right. They sit on a bench and Sora tries to find the right way to start the conversation. Then she takes her hands and tells her that everyone was very worried about her. She also wants to know why she disappeared without saying anything, but she takes her hands away and asks him a question that leaves him completely bewildered. Do we know each other from somewhere? After that, the story takes us back to that scene in the cafeteria where they had their date. There they had talked about their blindness and Sora had asked him if he saw everything completely dark. Kojal explains that, in his case, the opposite happens. So Sora finally asks him how he lost his sight. By that moment we already knew part of the answer. Kojo had said that he lost his vision when he was in the third year of high school due to cancer and that he had to endure a pretty harsh chemotherapy treatment. But now he decides to tell him the whole story. When he was a child, the doctors found a small stain on his head. After doing tests, they discovered that it was a malignant tumor. It was underwent intensive treatment and, for a while, it seemed that everything had been solved. However, later they discovered that the cancer had returned and that the tumor had increased considerably in size. The disease had also spread to their retinas. At the time I had two possibilities, to remove the eyes or try to preserve them through surgeries and chemotherapy treatments. Kojo decided to fight to preserve them. Then a process of chemotherapy began that proved to be extremely difficult. The treatment uses drugs capable of destroying cells to curb the expansion of cancer. But the problem is that those drugs do not perfectly distinguish between diseased cells and healthy cells. That is why different side effects began to appear. One of the first was hair loss. Added to that were other problems caused by the treatment and, at the same time, he had to face his new condition of blindness. The situation, he ended up affecting her deeply, had difficulty sleeping, difficulty concentrating, and began to experience a side effect known as brain chemie, which can lead to memory and concentration problems. After knowing this whole story, the atmosphere changes completely. What seemed to be a simple disappearance ends up revealing that Kojo had been facing a much more painful situation for years than Sora imagined, and now the big question remains. Why Lane no longer remembers Sora